Picture this. I guarantee this has happened to you at least once in the last month, probably more than once. It's Friday, 6:30 p.m. The work week is technically over. Your calendar says free time, but your nervous system says system overload. Your body is in the car or on the train, moving through the city, but your mind is still stuck in spreadsheets, Slack messages, meetings that could have been emails, and tasks you didn't finish. You're replaying conversations, worrying about Monday, mentally drafting replies to people who aren't even talking to you anymore. The idea of cooking a proper meal feels about as realistic as climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops after a full day of running. So you do what millions of people do. You open a delivery app, Thai food, pizza, burgers, something hot, salty, fatty, comforting, something that requires zero effort and zero thinking. With the service fee, delivery fee, small order fee, and tip, it quietly becomes $40 or $50. You barely notice. It doesn't feel like spending money. It feels like relief. You get home, you pour a drink, you sink into the couch like your body is finally allowed to shut down. You put on a show you don't even really like, but it doesn't matter because you're not watching it to be entertained. You're watching it to turn your brain off, to stop thinking, to stop feeling. And you tell yourself, with complete sincerity, I earned this. I worked hard all week. And you're right, you did work hard. But what if I told you that mathematically, you didn't just spend $45? What if I told you that the food, the commute, the clothes you wear to look professional, the coffee you need to stay awake, and the stress that pushed you to order in the first place are all hidden taxes, invisible costs, silent leaks, and that when you add them together, they might be cutting your real income by more than half? You think you're selling your time for $30 an hour? That sounds fair. That sounds adult. That sounds like success. But after we do the real accounting on your life, not the corporate accounting, not the HR version, but the brutal, honest, personal accounting, you might discover you're working for the equivalent of $8 an hour, or $5, or in some cases even less, not because your employer is lying, but because the equation itself is a lie. Because from the moment we graduate, we are taught to look at the wrong number. We are told our value is our salary. 50,000 a year, 70, 100. We divide it by 40 hours and say, that's my hourly rate. And we build our entire sense of self-worth, security, and lifestyle around that single number. But in business, revenue means nothing without expenses. A company that makes $1 million and spends $1 million is not successful. It's barely surviving. It has zero margin. One small shock and it collapses. Yet when it comes to our own lives, we only look at the revenue, the paycheck. We ignore the costs. And the business is you, your energy, your time, your attention, your health, your nervous system. Let's take an average worker. Call him Alex. On paper, Alex makes $30 an hour. Sounds solid, respectable, the kind of number that makes your parents relax and your bank approve your loan. But before Alex touches that money, taxes take their cut. Federal, state, Social Security, Medicare. That $30 quietly becomes $23 or $24. Then come the costs that exist only because Alex has this job: the commute, gas, insurance, parking, public transport, car payments, maintenance, a vehicle that, in many cases, exists primarily to get him to the place where he earns the money to pay for the vehicle. Thousands of dollars a year, burned just to be physically present. Then the uniform, even if it's called business casual, clothes that are uncomfortable, shoes that look good but hurt, haircuts, grooming, dry cleaning, products that make him look professional, presentable, successful. Money spent not for life but for appearance. Then the convenience tax. Lunch because there was no time to cook, coffee because he's exhausted, takeout because he gets home too late, delivery because he's too drained to stand in a kitchen, services he wouldn't need if he weren't gone all day, dog walkers, cleaners, childcare extensions, anything that patches the holes created by absence. And then comes the most expensive category of all: decompression. The money spent to escape the job. Friday night drinks to forget the week, impulse shopping to feel something, vacations booked not from joy but from burnout, therapy, gadgets, subscriptions, anything that quiets the internal noise, even for a moment. Add it all up, and suddenly, Alex's $60,000 a year doesn't look like $60,000 anymore. It might look like $35,000 of real, usable, life-improving money, maybe less. But we're still not done, because wage is not just money. Wage is money divided by time, and time is where the biggest lie lives. HR says Alex works 40 hours a week, but his alarm clock tells a different story. There's the morning routine, done only because of work, the commute, unpaid, the lunch break he can't actually use, the evening brain fog, the emails on the phone, the mental weight he carries home, the Sunday anxiety. When you count all of it, Alex isn't giving his job 40 hours. He's giving it 55, maybe 60, sometimes more. So now we finally do the real equation. Net income, after all work-related costs, divided by total life hours consumed by the job, and that shiny $30 an hour starts to collapse. It becomes $12 or $9, or in some cities less than the teenager working part-time who walks to work, wears a simple uniform, clocks out, and leaves his stress at the door. This is the real scam. Not that work exists, not that effort is required, but that you are taught to measure your labor in a way that hides its true cost. And once you see this, something powerful happens. You stop seeing prices as money, you start seeing them as hours of your life. A $100 purchase is no longer $100. It's 4 hours in traffic, 4 hours in meetings, 4 hours of stress, 4 hours of your one, finite, non-renewable existence. And suddenly you ask a different question. Is this worth 4 hours of my life? Most of the time, the honest answer is no. This is why promotions can be traps. More money, yes, but also more responsibility, more pressure, more hours, more expenses, more recovery. Your salary goes up. Your real hourly life wage goes down. So the goal is not just to make more. The goal is to increase your margin. Just like a smart business, reduce the costs of working, reduce the time it consumes. Negotiate remote days, live closer, simplify your lifestyle. Stop spending money just to recover from a life you don't actually enjoy. Because the richest people are not always the ones who make the most money. They are the ones who buy back their time. And the poorest are not always the ones with the lowest income, but the ones who are forced to sell the largest portion of their lives just to stay afloat. Time is the real currency. Audit your life, calculate your real hourly wage, and stop selling your time at a discount. If this made you look at your paycheck differently, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's always tired. Let's stop selling our time for cheap.